Hello and welcome to Butter Movies. The Tulsa King Season 2 finale isn't a finale, it's an epilogue. Season 2, Episode 10, Reconstruction, has very little of the impact that viewers expect from TV season finales. Instead, the Paramount Plus show calmly moves from place to place, summing up its various storylines, and relies largely on a cliffhanger to draw viewers back for a potential Season 3. Reconstruction follows Dwight Manfredi and his crew as they plan for their future, both professionally and personally. The characters who had once been serious threats to said future largely fade away. And while one person doesn't survive the episode, Reconstruction is a slow end to a season that started just as quietly, losing the momentum that was built in between. Tulsa King's decision to eliminate Jackie Ming in Season 2, Episode 9, Triad renders Episode 10 largely inert. Ming's former business partner Cal Thresher, once painted as the scheming, cunning rival to Dwight in both business and romance, simply walks away literally, after a negotiation with Dwight about his marijuana farm that has no real tension in it. The other major antagonist of Season 2, Bill Bevilacqua, does better because he helps tie up the show's biggest loose end, but he too just settles with Dwight and walks out of the bread too buck. And Chicky shows up, but he just does the yelling he always does. The second season got off to a slow start because Season 2, Episode 1, Back in the Saddle was just 42 minutes of how great Dwight was. That same problem exists in Reconstruction. It's just Dwight and his team getting what they want, over and over again. Dwight tells Thresher he's taking over the business and after some arguing, Thresher gives up and says he never much cared for the business anyway. Remember that this was someone established as an incredibly powerful businessman in Tulsa. Elsewhere, Mitch officially signs the paperwork to take over Donnie Shaw's car dealership. Armand gets his job back at Fenario Ranch after another pretty quick conversation. Ahanu reaches a deal with Dwight to enter into a partnership, too. It all comes together too easily. At no point is there ever a serious threat to Dwight's safety or his businesses, until the cliffhanger ending in which Dwight is taken out of bed and into custody by masked men. It's as if the season ended with Episode 9, and the writers are using Episode 10 to look ahead to Tulsa King Season 3, including said cliffhanger. Season finales are meant to be some of the biggest episodes in a TV show, in which everything comes to a head and characters have great development. This one just feels like stretching out a story that ends. Visually, it's surprising to see Chicky just randomly die in mid-conversation. But because it's random, it doesn't have as much impact on the audience as it could. He doesn't go down after trying to kill Dwight or after one last massive confrontation. The two have an argument in the back office at Higher Plane, but that's just more of the same old song. The only positive here is that it's Tulsa King getting rid of a plotline it doesn't need. After Dwight had established himself in Tulsa, Chicky had less and less relevance, being in a complete other state from where the main story was taking place. He also never really grew as a character, so there was no reason to care about his fate. His death does beg the question, if there is a Season 3, will New York be in it at all? Or now that Vince is in charge and seems copacetic with Dwight, will the writers retool the show to focus solely on Tulsa? The latter would be more efficient, but it would mean making a few changes and likely bumping act. Tulsa King's Season 2 finale suggests a possible direction for the show in Season 3. Debuting on Paramount Plus in 2022, the show stars Sylvester Stallone as gangster Dwight Manfredi, who reforms a criminal organization after being released from prison following a 25-year stint. Tulsa King Season 2 has been well-reviewed so far and seems to be hurtling towards an explosive finale. The Season 2 conclusion is set to air November 17th and could well end on a cliffhanger that sets up Season 3 of the show. In an interview with TV Insider, cast member Max Casella discussed the show's future. The actor revealed that he didn't expect Season 2 to go the way it has, but something happens in Episode 10 that would suggest story direction for Season 3. He, however, admitted that he's not even sure if the incident still occurred, before adding that he hopes for more from his character Armand. While it is unclear what this event will be in the finale, as it has not yet aired, there is a lot to unpack from Season 2, Episode 9, that could give a snapshot of storylines that might spill over into the climax, and then into Tulsa King Season 3. Firstly, antagonist Chicky is heading for a potentially deadly showdown with Dwight, which would be expected to be a prominent plot point for the finale episode, depending on Chicky's choices. This clash could see Tulsa King's antagonist character either trying to convince Dwight to work with the New York mob again or try to kill him. Regardless, this could set up a key story arc for Season 3, either setting up revenge if Chicky is killed, or tensions between the two sets of gangsters if they form a tentative alliance. There is also the fallout of Dwight's gang taking out rival Jackie Ming, which could spill over into Season 3, as well as his uneasy relationship with Cal and Bill. If Tulsa King Season 3 is renewed, Dwight and his gang will face challenges, with several key plot points influencing the show's future direction. I would expect Season 3 to explore a new era of cooperation or conflict and a possible realignment of power, which will have far-reaching ramifications for Dwight and could make his position uneasy. Thus, the consequences for Tulsa's criminal underworld are set to be shaped in the Season 2 finale and could influence the direction of the rest of the series. On Tulsa King, revenge is a dish best served in 30 minutes or less, or it's free. Something like that, anyway. The show spent its entire second season establishing the 5 factions warring for control of Tulsa's weed farms: the New York mob, led first by Chicky Invernizzi and now by Vince Antonocci; the Kansas City mob, led by Bill Bevilacqua, Cal Thresher, oil baron turned unscrupulous weed magnate, Jackie Ming, Thresher's partner and the boss of the local triad organization, and Dwight Manfredi's Tulsa outfit itself, a motley crew of disparate interests, nebbishy weed store owners, Native American growers and wind farmers, a smattering of wise guys, would-be and otherwise, held together by Manfredi's own charisma. In this episode, it dispenses with the conflict in a matter of seconds. It doesn't even take much time or effort to get to that point, either. After getting forced out of his own weed business by his turncoat triad partner, Thresher's marching orders from his ally Bevilacqua are simple: fix it. Yeah, go fuck yourself, Thresher grumbles as he leaves. But he does what he's told. He turns to the only person who could possibly curry him favor with Dwight, who, more or less correctly, blames him for the whole mess: Margaret, the ranch owner in whom they are both romantically interested. Dwight more successfully than Cal. Unbeknownst to anyone, including us in the audience, Cal has become a 49% stakeholder in her ranch, and since Ming is trying to take over everything Thresher owns, she could be next on the chopping block at any time. He pressures her to pressure Dwight. Episodes, was in talks with the heads of the various mafia families. He pitched the idea of removing Chicky from his position as the leader of the syndicate, and he had very strong reasons behind doing so, the primary one being that everybody was inclined to be on his side. Though nobody had evidence to prove it, they all knew that Chicky had killed his father. So in Tulsa King Season 2, Episode 8, Vince finally decided to confront Chicky with a few other respected members of the syndicate. Chicky probably knew that Vince was going to go against him, but he hadn't expected that it would happen so soon. Chicky was told that his recklessness had cost the syndicate a fortune. The profits were at an all-time low, and Chicky was told that he had made some bad decisions, which caused people to lose faith in him as a leader. Chicky had sent Dwight to Tulsa just because the latter's presence made him insecure. The syndicate members told Chicky that if he hadn't banished Dwight, things wouldn't have turned the way they did. Chicky was angry beyond any measure. He would have killed Vince in a heartbeat if he had the opportunity. But he knew that he needed to step aside as he couldn't go against the syndicate. I believe it would be difficult to keep Chicky on the sidelines. He will hit back, and maybe he will be reckless enough to go after Vince and spoil his cause even further. Maybe he will join hands with Thresher and Bill, though it seems like a far-fetched possibility as of now. What happened between Bill and Thresher? Bill Bevilacqua drew first blood when his gang members shot Body and Jimmy. Jimmy got gravely injured, and we will come to know in the subsequent episodes if he survived or not. Meanwhile, the inevitable happened, and Thresher was thrown out of his business by Jackie Ming. I don't know how Thresher didn't see it coming, considering he knew how things worked in his business. Since the previous episodes, we have noticed that Thresher has no control whatsoever over Jackie. Jackie had his own army, and he knew that Thresher would. Thresher's not alone dangling there at the end of his rope. Armand, Dwight's rogue soldier, makes it as far as a crossroads out of town before giving up and heading back in an emotional panic. He runs to Ming for help, offering to lure him to the one place Dwight is most vulnerable, Margaret's ranch, where their off-screen sex life takes place. At least that's what you're supposed to think, and very well might if you're not a terribly receptive viewer. In the middle of all this, Dwight's talking to his sister Joanne at home when his bodyguard, Bigfoot, announces, "You have a visitor." We aren't shown who it is until a flashback near the end of the episode, but there's only one person it can be, Armand, and there's only one thing Dwight could have asked him to do to earn absolution, luring and his men to their deaths. Which he does. Leading them onto the ranch, he feigns anxiety-related exhaustion, then scampers away. And assassins from a coalition of all the local indigenous tribes, out for blood over the murder of Jimmy the Creek, one of their own, last episode, slit the throats of Ming's rear guard. Gunmen from the Manfredi and Bevilacqua outfits, led by weed store employee and unlikely sharpshooter Grace, take out the rest of the triads. As for Ming himself, Dwight hands his right-hand man Tyson the tomahawk he was given at Jimmy's funeral service, and Tyson buries it in the Chinese-American ganglord's skull. Sic semper tyrannis or whatever. Tyson has also been somewhat reconciled with his resentful mother thanks to his dad, so it's a real red-letter day for him. But that still leaves the question of Armand an open one, giving actor Max Casella one more chance to shine in a role he's really made a meal of these past few episodes. Despite his role in the defeat of the triads, Armand reveals he has no intention of living past the confrontation himself. He'd sworn never to run again, and he went back on his word, one final fuck-up in a life full of them. His intention, all along it seems, was to make up for his betrayal and then commit suicide by Dwight. We can guess that every gangster is interconnected to some degree, but it makes more sense to focus on Tulsa and the surrounding areas, especially since Tina and Joanne have joined Dwight there. Other than finishing out Chickie's story, there isn't much reason to carry on with New York. Dwight appears to be building a solid foundation in Tulsa. He's got his family, and he's getting the girl, a girl who almost makes him blush. I was shocked that Andrea Savage disappeared so early this season, but it has made room for Dana Delaney to get some much-deserved screen time and Margaret to be more fully fleshed out. There's more to her past that I hope is uncovered as the seasons continue. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Dwight is puzzled that despite everything she knows about him, Margaret is willing to put the danger aside and consider a future with him. And make no mistake about it, she wants that. Will that sentiment change as things continue to heat up through the end of the season? She seems pretty tough, but so did Stacy, and look what happened to her. There are 3 episodes left in Tulsa King Season 2. All we can do from here is try to make educated guesses about what's next. But Tatiana Zappadino, who plays Tina, can do more than that, and she did in our exclusive interview. Her advice? Don't get too attached to anyone because not everyone makes it out of this one alive. What do you think is coming for Dwight and the gang? Does Tyson represent something unique on the show? The main spectacle of Tulsa King Season 2, Episode 9, and the event everything in the episode was building to, was the ambush of Jackie Ming at the Fenario Ranch. While it was the main showdown of the episode and the moment when the real villain behind all of Tulsa King Season 2's bloodshed, it was also very quick. In just a few minutes, Jackie went from attacking Dwight to being buried by Bigfoot, Mike, Cashflow and Walden, and some of the details may have been missed in the brawl. Luckily, the build-up to the ambush also reveals the details of what happened. Dwight and his gang, Bill Bevilacqua and his gang, Anahanu, Michaela Yepes, and some of his fellow Native American warriors, all joined forces to take Jackie Ming down. Dwight and Bill both hid in separate stables and fired at Jackie and his men. As the floodlights turned on, Jackie's gang was blinded, and it became a shooting gallery. Then, Ahanu and his men snuck up from behind and outflanked the Chinese gang, executing them with knives and other melee weapons. All of that was possible because Armand led Jackie and his gang into a trap and escaped as the bullets started flying. Though the ambush took out all of Jackie's men, the Chinese mob boss didn't actually die in the shootout. Grace, McKenna Quigley Harrington, shot him in the leg, and the rest of the gang brought him into a barn to execute him. Dwight didn't actually do the honors of killing Jackie, however, and he instead let Tyson use Jimmy's tomahawk to execute Jackie. There's a fairly simple reason Dwight let Tyson kill Jackie. Tyson wanted revenge for the car bomb that injured his father, Michael Beach, and Jackie was responsible. As Dwight said, the killing was justified. Dwight had a very simple reason for letting Tyson deliver the killing blow on Jackie, but he might have had some more subtle motivations as well. Letting Tyson get his revenge personally might have been a way for Dwight to desensitize Tyson to violence even more. Throughout Tulsa King Season 2, Tyson has been taking a more active role in the gang, like helping to bury Carl's body, and killing a man may have been the next step in making him a fuller. And then Tom Petty's learning to fly plays for some reason as they dispose of over a dozen corpses, including one killed with an axe to the head, and Dwight goes to bed with a horny Margaret. It feels like the end of the season, honestly. But Chicky, who's found himself on the no-fly list thanks to his moronic gun at the airport incident, is taking the train out to Tulsa on a mission. His short-sighted banishment of a legend and an earner like Dwight Manfredi to Tulsa was cited by the other bosses as a reason for his ouster. Technically his dad made the call, but Chicky stood the most to benefit from the ouster of a potential rival for the throne upon his dad's death. If Chicky can lure Dwight back into the fold, his replacement Vince and the others say Chicky himself will be welcomed back too. Is it all a bit anticlimactic? Yeah, honestly. Having the big bloodbath take place in the penultimate episode rather than the season finale is, at this point, a pretty old-school HBO-style maneuver, dating back to the new Golden Age heyday that ran from The Sopranos through Game of Thrones. But this just makes me more intrigued about what could possibly happen between Dwight and Chicky in the finale. Are we gonna get a lengthy heart-to-heart, some kind of acting showcase for Sylvester Stallone and Dominic Lombardozzi? Are we going to get a one-on-one fight to the death? Is there some curveball headed our way? The Mitch-Tina romance it seemed like we were headed towards never materialized, just for starters. Most of Dwight Manfredi's, Sylvester Stallone, problems have disappeared after the ending of Tulsa King Season 2, Episode 9, but there are still some things that need to be explained in the aftermath of Jackie Ming's, Rich Ting, death. Tulsa King Season 2 has been approaching a boiling point for a long time, and the pressure finally burst with Jackie Ming's death. Almost the entire cast of Tulsa King Season 2 was involved in putting the leader of the Chinese triad down, but some of them played a more important role than others. One of the biggest loose threads left after the ending of Tulsa King Season 2, Episode 8 was Armand Truisi, Max Casella. He robbed the bread $2 and Goodie and made off with $500,000, only to turn around as he neared the Mexican border. That decision was strange when it happened, but Armand's entire character arc got even more confusing after one of the biggest twists in Tulsa King history. That twist directly led to Jackie Ming's death, so understanding it properly is absolutely essential, especially now that Tulsa King Season 3 may be on the horizon. One of the smaller surprises Tulsa King Season 2, Episode 9 had in store was the revelation that Margaret Devereaux, Dana Delaney, not only knew who Jackie Ming was, but that she had a business relationship with him. As she explained, Margaret knew of Jackie because her ex-husband had tried to buy her out of the Fenario Ranch, and she went to Cal Thresher for financial help. Thresher got a 49% ownership stake in the ranch for helping Margaret, but when Jackie took control of his business at the end of Tulsa King Season 2, Episode 8, Jackie owned nearly half of the Fenario Ranch. Margaret dealt with Cal Thresher for years, which likely meant she either met or heard about Jackie Ming. Then, after he got control of the ranch, Margaret would have become a target for Jackie, and he might have tried to muscle her out of control of the business in the same way he did with Cal. Margaret's relationship with Dwight made her an even bigger target, as Jackie would have done anything to hurt Dwight, including killing his lover. So, Margaret was in a lot of danger from Jackie, which is probably why she was so calm. Tyson got very lucky. For now, Tyson remains a free man in his conscience, he is not yet a killer. Joining forces with Dwight means the possibility is always within reach, but for now, he's free of that guilt. How long will this dynamic last amidst so much chaos? Dwight saw something in Tyson from the beginning, and despite Tyson's youth and inexperience, he's kept him close. But loyalty isn't free, and Dwight drives home to Tyson what it means to be part of his inner circle. When Tyson made a reckless move that could have ended disastrously, Dwight didn't let it slide. In any other family, that sort of half-baked decision-making would have spelled the end for Tyson, but Dwight operates differently. Mitch is a bright man. Despite hooking up with a genuine mafioso in Dwight, he seems to have learned from his mistakes. He uses common sense and compassion with Tyson, knowing it might be Tyson's last chance to get out of the life. If he murders someone, there is no turning back. He will see that life every time he closes his eyes for eternity. It's easy to kill someone, but it kills a piece of you, too. Tyson has learned nothing from his father, which is what's so damned heartbreaking about this turn of events. A real head-scratcher was discovering that Mark was awake and had heard everything Tyson said to him in the hospital room. Why didn't he reach out to his son and tell him not to do something he'd regret? Calling him was too late. Asking Dwight to call Tyson away wasn't enough. That was a super weird development that I didn't like at all. It felt contrived and awkward. If you wondered just how green Tyson was and how out of his depth he was with this situation, look no further than the fact the kid had his ringer on while waiting to make a hit on someone. Now, he may be in the clear. Bevilacque's guy may just be injured. We just had a similar scenario when we wondered if Mark died at the end of the last episode.